to start to where we should stop and get a sense of what is important to you all. Okay, so this is just sort of some 4 pillars that we wanted to just highlight that this data sort of helps us address. Demographics, obviously, employment and commuting, which I will go into, fiscal health and housing, diversity of housing mix, ownership, rental, that type of thing, which I will not go into tonight. So we publish what are called town profiles for all 169 towns. We just released it in August, and it is available actually at the CT Data Collaborative's webpage. The address is right there. And I think, Tucker, if it's possible, one thing that might be helpful is if you want to just, and you can be the voice for these issues, just trying to get a sense of what you think your primary assets are, challenges, and sort of what you think would really change the game for the town. If you have, if you would like to contribute that, I thought it would be useful.
I'm sorry, say that again. I was just making sure I had power here because my computer's giving me trouble.
Oh, okay. Well, I just didn't know if you wanted to sort of identify for
our talent. Yeah. So as far as our assets, and we've talked about this at the TDAC level quite a bit. I mean, it's certainly our downtown is something that's very attractive to us. It's our cultural assets. Our mid-century moderns are very much of a draw here and very much at play. Our challenges right now are what many small towns seem to be facing, and just in the retail sector. I mean, that seems to be where most of our concern is right now. And as I shared with you this summer, we really struggle with being able to gather data. We just don't have the resources to provide that kind of information, or use a consultant to help us with that in terms of bringing people into town to actually open up some businesses in some of our vacant stores.
Okay, so that's helpful, and that is something that we can help you address. So we can talk more specifically about that offline. But so hopefully some of these issues that I will cover now will address some of that. So really just looking at the total population since 2000, we are seeing I've outlined here percentages. Fairfield County is about half of the US, and New Canaan is a little bit below that at 5%. So you can see sort of the actual increase there in the bar chart. One thing I know we've all sort of talked about as we moved around our towns and the Merritt Parkway and looked at real estate sales is the issue of the pandemic and what that meant in terms of who was moving in and who was moving out. I pulled this because I thought it was interesting because it actually did look at those moving out. So, we had 17,000, these were a USPS study based on request of address changes. So 17,000 did move into the Stamford, Bridgeport, Norwalk sort of metro area along the coast. But as we can see here, there was also people that moved out. And so we do have sort of a sense of net movement and addition to the region. And New Canaan is showing there the 499 net growth. To note, the darker purple areas, there was loss in New Haven, Stamford, and Norwalk. So it sort of mirrored what we saw nationally in terms of the more urban dense areas in this situation where it had lost some population. So on the topic of density and population, this is just to give you a sense of what we're working with in terms of space and the land that you have to use and the people that you need to serve in that space. So New Canaan clearly is one of the denser towns. Fairfield County overall tends to be more dense. I took a look at some of our neighboring towns just to give us some perspective. Fairfield is about 2,000 people per square mile. Stamford is 3,400. Greenwich is 300. Darien is 1,700, and Westport was 1,400. So just to give us a sense of
Lisa, not to not to have you not cover some of your PowerPoint, but
Yeah.
I wonder if you could go over, like I spoke about the program earlier, the influencer program that we spoke about yesterday.
Sure, definitely.
Just to help us understand some of
Right.
the opportunities that are available to this group and to some of the businesses.
Sure,
So
sure.
October for Design, there you go.
Yep.
Great.
So, yep. So there's two real key points that I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of. The state has launched, I think it's for small businesses, and it's Bring It.
Yeah, Bring It.
Bring It Home, but let me get my, it's Do Your Thing. And so Do Your Thing, ct.org is the webpage. They're saying use the hashtag Do Your Thing to sort of highlight what is happening under that sort of purview. This is coming under the state's tourism marketing approach. What I thought was particularly interesting is you can get small businesses highlighted. They will go through very specific sort of history and background about small businesses. One thing I thought that you all should really take a look at is the influencer section, because we're a very social media savvy part of the state and the region. And I know that there was New Canaan moms I see frequently on Instagram. One of the influencers listed within the state was Newtown moms. So there is, I think, some opportunity for you to identify key sort of social media movers within your region that would be, that people look to for restaurant information or shopping information or things to do on the weekends or things to do with your children. If you have some strong sort of social media messages out there, I think that would be very important to tap into. Tucker, I don't know, did you reach out to the tourism
on the
that I had shared? Okay, so yes. I think it's important for you to take a look at being a partner organization with them so that you can be funneling them information. They are always looking for content. And so the more relevant.
Laura Butt at the chamber now. She's constantly sending, is that still Rosemary Bove? I can't remember, but she's sending a lot of information up there frequently.
Yes, it was a different person. I don't know if Rosemary's still there.
Okay.
But yes, that is definitely a group that you should get in front of.
Yeah.
And same thing with the October for Design. So then the second issue that I wanted to bring. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Somebody speak up there. Nope, I think we're okay.
Okay, I moved my screen as I was trying to see if I had. So the state, as I mentioned, in addition to the Do Your Own Thing campaign that they're launching, they are actually announced a launch about 1.4 million full color Connecticut for this fall program to bring visitors into the state, primarily because to make up for all the lost business and traffic that we had last year. So I would highly recommend, particularly with, and that was why I had suggested I connected you with that person within Visit CT, because you can get your events on there. You can get your events featured. The Glass House is featured on there as a sort of standalone, but in order to get a sense of what the town is doing and sort of a more collective expression of what's happening would be an important way for you to, I think, showcase what you have going on.
Yeah, we put most of our events, again, back at the chamber. We always load them into the calendar up there. And certainly some of our bigger events seem to get some traction for sure.
And I do think trying to pitch them on having a more, feature story, sort of what mapping out for them, what an experience could be like for somebody visiting, so that it's, because they piece things together, but if you can curate it, I think it's just that much more compelling.
What website is this? What website is it?
CT Visit.
ctvisit.org. Got it.
Okay.
So those were really the key based on what you and I had talked about.
Yep.
On the retail side, we do have a database of sites for that within Advanced CT. that isn't really populated with Fairfield County sites very frequently. So I did try and see what I could find out on the retail front, but you're sort of dependent on the brokers or the town to put in available space. So if that's something that you would want to consider, that's an option as well. Yeah. But really trying to reach out to the building owners if they're not, if they are, hopefully they're in town, that they're not distant owners, but really trying to get a sense of having them work with you so that the scape could be increased.
Yeah, that's exactly one of the things that we're doing right now is we've assembled a group of landlords / real estate, commercial real estate representatives, and we've been having some ongoing conversations. So that's good. Okay, perfect. Lisa, one of the things that I rely on you heavily, and I just want to put this out there to everybody else, is that, whenever you need any kind of data, Lisa really can do that for you. We needed some information recently at the town level, and she was able to pull it together quickly for me. So, and I'll share this as well so that you have it. Yep, and Lisa, always keep us in mind if you hear of any great opportunity. If you could just remind us, if we missed it or whatever, just so that we know what's available. Will do, of course. Yeah, great. Okay, well, thank you. Have a good evening. All right. Thank you. All right. Moving right along. We've got our Live New Canaan people with us. So where are they? I'm looking at my stairs. Hi, Nancy.
We have sorry, I'm late. I'll try to be brief so that you can get to the more interesting part of the presentation. But let me just kind of frame it for those who haven't heard, although some of you have heard about our program, and we've been very much cooperating with the Chamber and the town and TDAC over the years. I'm Nancy Greenspan. I'm a realtor with William Ravis. I'm also on the board of directors of the Board of Realtors, and had a 30-year career in marketing and corporate PR, and volunteered, and I'm still a volunteer overseeing this program of 3 years length. Which started about 3 years ago to support a sagging real estate market, but has grown into a giant and powerful megaphone for all things New Canaan. I want to get quickly to Tim Mcdermott from Noble House, who actually executes the campaign, so you can see what's been going on, and it's very exciting. But I'll tell you part of what our goal is here speaking to you tonight, and that is, and I'll turn it over to Lori Kelly, our executive director of the Board of Realtors, in a second. The board has funded the program almost fully for the last 3 years, and it's an enormous part of our operating budget. It's become so successful that people are coming to us to want to be on the site, to want us to feature them in social media, and we know we've really had an enormous influence on the businesses, on profits, on all the activities in the town, and have generated a huge presence for them. And we'd like this to continue. We're in a boom time in real estate right now, but it's not always going to be that way. And we've built a structure that's working very well, and we'd like to find ways to find some shared funding so we can ensure the future of it. So we'd like to sort of plant that idea with you, see if you can help us figure out a way to do that. And Lori, do you want to just tell us a little bit about how it works in terms of the board funding the program?
Sure. So the New Canaan Board of Realtors is a 501c6 organization, much like the Chamber of Commerce is. We're a membership-based organization, and our members are primarily residential realtors. So our income does not rise and fall with the real estate market. We are dependent on membership dues for all of our funding. And in turn, we provide our members with programming, education, different kinds of services, and we lobby on their behalf for the cause of home ownership at the local, state, and national levels. We also support, on behalf of the realtor community, a number of charitable organizations really across the spectrum: arts, human services, first responders, land use, and everything in between. So we saw a need for a program to promote New Canaan, and we undertook it with the understanding that the town, through TDAC, was going to partner with us in putting together this campaign. And our PR firm, Noble House, has created a super successful campaign, and we're going to show some of that to you now. And we hope with your help to continue that momentum.
Over to Tim Mcdermott, who is our account manager at Noble House and has done an incredible job leading the team there in executing the program. Tim.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Nancy. Here we go, sharing my screen. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for your time this evening. Really delighted to be able to share this high-level report with you. We're grateful to the town and the chamber as well for being able to supplement some of the content that is appearing on livenewcanaan.org to provide an overview. This initiative in partnership with TDAC, Chamber of Commerce, Board of Realtors, Noble House Media comprises of the following marketing channels, which includes social media management divided into paid and organic, email marketing, Google advertising, PR, search engine optimization, as well as website enhancement. So I'll start off with organic social media. This refers to all social media activity without paid promotions. So here the objective is to build and engage with a growing online following across the existing Facebook and Instagram pages, as well as the established Twitter and LinkedIn pages that Noble House was able to create. So in the nearly 2 years that we've been on the program, we've increased Facebook followers by 2,623.80%, which from 63 followers to 1,654. And here we are far exceeding the industry average engagement rates. Typically, that would be between 1% and 5%. However, for Live New Canaan, we're seeing our engagement rates on Facebook and Instagram anywhere from 10% to 20%, which is extraordinarily encouraging. What this means is people are liking, sharing, and commenting on our high quality posts. Moving over to paid, we're also leveraging this for the Live New Canaan campaign. Here you'll have examples of previously used creative playing on the left-hand side. This is how we are able to display our pillar messaging on these platforms directly in front of the eyes of our specific targeted curated audience in order to bring them directly back to the website livenewcanaan.org. We're able to target based on their internet search patterns, lookalike audiences, people that have expressed interest in New Canaan, Fairfield County, real estate. Here, a highlight is achieving close to 2,000 website visitors in a month for less than 20 cents per click. And this is just from one social media paid campaign alone. And it does not include the other marketing channels which were used. Examples of upcoming creatives that we'll be employing are the GIF rather that you see on the right-hand side, as well as this lovely video of a New Canaan family. This is promising to perform very well. Then we also have email marketing. So here we're sending custom coded emails twice a month to recipients in proven buyer zip codes, in addition to 10,000 recipients in New Canaan alone in order to promote the town. Its businesses, events that are going on as well. We're constantly monitoring and adapting to ensure that the delivery rates, open rates, click-through rates remain above average. Currently, our open rates are exceeding 30%. Industry average for similar campaigns is typically around 12 to 13%. So outperforming the industry there, which is wonderful. Then I'll head over to the Google Remarketing Ads. So with the data we're collecting from all the visitors who are engaging with our website and through our other marketing channels, we're able to place these custom ads directly in front of them across the internet. And this has helped us achieve placement across prominent sites such as Forbes, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Fox, CNN, so on. And as such, the visitors that we're getting from the digital ad placements are very targeted. And this helps to dramatically decrease the cost per click and increase the return on investment here. Moving into public relations, like all other channels, this is a continuous push of our core communications pillars in a bid to drive high quality traffic to the website from this channel. So here the core communication pillars include top rated schools. So by the way, congratulations for being recognized yet again as the #1 school district in Connecticut. The second one is a vibrant, walkable town center, then strong sense of community, proximity to New York City, great restaurants, and more house for your money. Here we've so far earned publication on a variety of prominent publications and traditional publications, digital as well. And we're continuing to receive editorial calls, continuing to receive editorial calls requesting additional information and media assets, or requesting placement of businesses or events on livenewcanaan.org. This latest story, which should be distributed tomorrow morning, highlights niche.com's ranking of New Canaan yet again. Heading over to search engine optimization, this is SEO as a service, is the process of improving the visibility and quality of traffic to the website from various search engines such as Google, Bing, Baidu, etc. This is referring to the improvement of unpaid results, and again, doesn't include any direct traffic or paid initiative. SEO, search engine optimization, is a continuous and time-consuming endeavor, and this is because Google alone makes in excess of 3,000 algorithm changes each year, and so the team must remain vigilant to ensure that we're able to address these promptly, rapidly as well. So this has performed phenomenally. Before we had joined the Live New Canaan campaign, we had not had ranking for nearly any keywords, and we have since surpassed over 1,500 keywords, ranking in the top 100 nationally. We're seeing the amount of progress within a 3-month period that would typically take 6 months to achieve. And as a result, we're getting close to 1,000 organic visitors every month based on livenewcanaan.org showing up when people are searching for things to do in New Canaan downtown, town of New Canaan, etc. So the organic traffic that we're seeing here is now 4 times exceeding that of the New Canaan Newcomers Group, which is the largest newcomers group in the US, 3 times greater than the New Canaan Museum and Historical Society, and we can go on there. These businesses that I've highlighted on the right-hand side are examples of search terms that are appearing on page 1 of Google through livenewcanaan.org. So what this means is that businesses' visibility online through search engines is being tied to Live New Canaan. So we are able to help promote and bolster their visibility through this campaign, serving as a megaphone for their brands. Then we head over to website development and website traffic. Here, this fresh, modern, responsive website is featuring back-end integration with the town and the chamber's business directory and events calendars, as well as an improved Flex MLS integration that is able to showcase available homes, as well as New Canaan realtors. We've embedded search functionality, included drone videography, which is what you're seeing right here on the homepage, as well as bolstered the quantity and quality of the content. We have enabled industry-leading secure form fills to ensure that those that are viewing our wonderful homes and the wonderful town are kept safe and secure while doing so. Previously, we had seen fewer than 50 visits to this site per month, and now we're getting that on a daily basis at minimum. So very, very pleased with the progress that we're seeing here, increasingly seen as the resource for all things New Canaan, and frequently businesses and other organizations are reaching out directly to livenewcanaan.org in order to be featured and promoted online. So that's a high-level overview of the Live New Canaan campaign and our performance year over year. And thank you very much for your time.
And
Any
we'll
questions?
all entertain questions if you have them.
Yes. I have one question. So how does it work when there's a business that reaches out that would like to be profiled or spotlighted or whatever, whatever word you use? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you say there's a paid opportunity as well as an unpaid. There's two different sort of tiers, if you will. Is that right?
Not right now, no.
Not right now. So while the infrastructure exists for that to occur, as it stands currently, businesses are able to be promoted without charge.
Without charge. Okay. So are you considering some sort of a revenue producing aspect of the site?
Absolutely. And given the vast levels of just organic free traffic arriving to livenewcanaan.org, that is a revenue stream that can be considered. During COVID, when businesses required as much support as possible, that
Right.
it wouldn't have been good timing to be then charging them in order to help keep them afloat.
Right.
It's something we're actually considering, but we don't know the extent of what it would be. We're, trying to defray the cost of the program. We know we'll probably never cover it, but that's one way we might conceivably be able to. But we're still looking for partners to, guarantee the long-term viability of the program.
And are you still looking to sort of do that direct target marketing, if you will, to certain areas? I mean, I know when this all started, and as you said, the real estate market was needing a little bit of a lift, and you were looking at Brooklyn and places like that. Is that still part of the goal and strategy?
Yes, Jim. Do you wanna-
Yes, absolutely, because we need to be prepared for any additional large-scale fluctuations to the real estate markets, and having a cohesive program such as the Live New Canaan campaign enables the town of New Canaan to better position itself relative to neighboring towns as well.
Well, also, Lori provided in the very beginning target zip codes. We did a lot of research about where people have come from, and we do it in an ongoing way, where people have come from who have bought in New Canaan. And those zip codes are provided to the agency to use for targeting advertising and social media. Correct, Lori? I mean, that's an ongoing thing, right?
Tim, can you stop sharing so that we can go to see everybody?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Can I ask for the PR stories, who's the spokesperson for those stories when you pitch them? And are you bringing journalists to town on a regular basis, or how is most of the outreach being handled?
So that's done through an ongoing basis as an integrated part of Fairfield County, headquartered in Darien. We have a vast number of local partners, regional, national as well, that depending on the story that's being pitched, excuse me, we're able to do that on an ongoing basis.
Ellen, let me comment on that a little bit, because PR, classic PR is kind of a small part of this program. It really depends so much on social media, email marketing, Google activity, et cetera. We do press releases and answer press inquiries. We just don't have the bandwidth, or the program is not, we don't have the budget to really do press events. We did some of that with our previous agency, which was more of a classic PR agency,
Right.
but it lacked all of these other things that we now think are working so well that traditional PR has taken a little bit of a backseat. We'd love to do more, but
No, I understand it, but I guess my first question was, who is the person you're putting out there for the stories when there is an interview request?
It's either Lori or Melissa Rambuya, the president of the Board of Realtors. And that president changes. Next year we'll have a different one.
Thank you.
Clearly a success story. I mean, I remember when you all first came, and it's great to see that growth. I mean, really impressive. I follow the program closely. I get all of the emails and all of that. And I see others are as well. So well done. Rita, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I'm in marketing, so I looked at this very critically, and it's a great presentation, and I'm very impressed with what you guys have achieved. And I think there's a lot of potential for the town and for driving. I mean, your goal obviously is to drive more people to come and live here. But I see this as a potential tool to drive, people into our stores and our retail outlets and our services. And I think it's just like a fantastic kind of, it's already built and it could be built upon. And I love it. I have a lot of questions, but you've answered several of them. I'm curious, what is getting the most traction? Like out of all of the posts and that you're putting out there, where are you seeing the most traction, the most engagement? Which kinds of posts?
Videos that are focusing on town events and the sort of behind the scenes in focus of local businesses receive excellence.
And from, I know you said you targeted specific areas that you know that people are moving from, but are you seeing patterns in terms of areas of concentration that are the most engaged?
Certainly, for those details, happy to send that in a follow-up email. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I'll leave it at that, but I think it's I'd love to sit down with you guys and talk more. I think it's great.
We should point out, though, that for our email marketing, for example, it goes to about 30,000 people, and 20,000 of those are the targeted zip codes where people have bought from. But 10,000 of them are right here in New Canaan. And a lot of our activity and visibility is in New Canaan, too. So absolutely, it's also addressing local people to come and participate and, patronize the businesses.
And also, one last question: who's deciding what the content will be? Who makes that decision?
Group effort.
Yeah, that's absolutely a group effort. So
a lot of it comes right off of the chamber calendar in terms of town events, right, Tim? And a lot of it comes from just scouring around what new businesses like Plum's opened a cheese store, things that are coming into town and things that we just know about. We're very agnostic about who we cover, as long as it's, positive, good for New Canaan. We'd love to include everybody. And the agency does a pretty good job of reaching out and finding people, but they can ask and we're pretty receptive.
So in terms of what you're looking for from this group, in terms of a partnership or resources, can you get into that a little bit?
Well, the only thing I can cite is in our second year, we presented to all of you, and the town did make a contribution of $10,000, which we appreciated greatly. And that was kind of for the first half of the year. And then we were hoping to get another 10 for the second half. So, and that didn't happen, and COVID happened and everything fell apart. But it just, in the long-term view of things, I don't think it's feasible for the Board of Realtors to continue to completely fund it. And the benefits of it are so far-reaching that we'd like to find a way to get some shared funding, 10,000, 20,000, whatever we could get to defray the expense for the Board of Realtors, because it's our biggest budget item other than salaries and rent. And I'm not sure it's something that can continue indefinitely.
So you don't have a specific request for us tonight?
Originally we were hoping to get $20,000 a year from the town when we had our meeting a couple of years ago, and we got the 10, and we're hoping to get the second 10. So ideally, we'd like to get $20,000 a year from shared funding.
Tucker, could I make a comment?
Sure.
Following up on what Rita said, the platform is something you can now leverage and build upon. And I'm kind of wondering what Nancy's doing as far as marketing October for Design, and whether it's the wind, it's about to start, right? October. But whether or not we could somehow put October for Design into Live New Canaan as a feature, and we haven't spent any money yet for this year's budget. But we should also mention that the town is hiring, as soon as we can figure out where we are with Tim, and Peter Noble. We're hiring Noble House to work with the town. And perhaps we could, also maybe we can get a consortium together of the Glass House and Grace Farms and the town and a few other groups, and sort of come up with what Nancy's looking for collectively but feature something like, does October for Design have a budget, marketing budget?
It does not. I mean, it's being fully funded by the Historical Society at this point. We sent everything to Live New Canaan, photographs, all the events.
Yeah.
So they did do a picture of Nina Anker's opening with her bird bed that's in our lawn. That was on there. But no, at this point, all of the marketing is being funded by the Historical Society.
I kind of wonder, I mean, given the fact that we're coming into October, and the eyeballs in the fall will be toward New England and foliage, and even if we're kind of over capacity with all of the events and stuff, or just advertising it and promoting it throughout the month of October will bring the awareness of New York City and people looking at Live New Canaan as far as October for Design.
No, and there's a lot of free events that are not at capacity. I mean, the tickets are almost all sold out, but the free events are not at capacity. And there's some Zoom stuff that can go up to, 500 people. So there's still plenty of stuff for people to do that they don't need tickets.
And Tim, isn't that something you guys could sort of help with? I mean, since you're already working with Live New Canaan, that you could also, we could figure out how to fund an effort the next few weeks for October for Design.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have already marketed October for Design through our email, through social, through the website itself, and absolutely happy to continue that as well. We do have a new flight of creative ads that are upcoming, but we can certainly connect offline for.
I guess Greg is there, between the reopening of Grace Farms and the Glass House. Are you doing inside tours yet, Greg?
Yeah, we've been doing them since July 1st. Yeah. Just not guided, self-guided tours, but we have educators on the property.
Right.
Yes, I mean, it sounds to me like with this platform taking off the way it has, that I think what Kevin was saying is that there's maybe some sort of an opportunity to leverage it, as you said, shared funding. There's so many aspects of it that could be, could be successful initiatives with several different partners. If you will.
Well, the focus of it was real estate, but right now we don't have inventory to show people. So let's kind of take a bit of a pivot and market New Canaan through Live New Canaan. Because you have the platform, and we just have various things that could contribute toward it.
Yeah, we've gone way beyond real estate, and it never was exclusively real estate.
Yeah.
We really, saw that other groups we were kind of overlapping with, supporting business and activities in town, and we decided to sort of embrace all of it because it all benefits real estate. But we're happy to entertain requests to feature things like October for Design, as we have, of course, and anything else that you want to suggest. And if we can, in some way monetize it, it would help.
Okay.
So a quick question.
Go, Heather.
This is just because we're talking about October for Design within this. So I just have two quick questions. One is, I haven't heard on the streets anything about it. And also, I was wondering if there's anything that the Historical Society or anyone has anything for the stores to hand out, because I don't even know anything going on. So I'm thinking right now, if we have stuff to hand out, it'll, we can give it to our customers so they know what's going on as well.
Nancy, you want?
Heather, you're going to get a Lego Builders Challenge for your window pretty soon.
That's exactly that's one of the key elements for the downtown businesses. And
I got outvoted on a brochure. I wanted to hand out, and the powers that be here did not think that something physical was a good idea.
I think they were wrong.
Yeah, I do too. But You know, I can certainly put together something that would have all of the events and activities. I mean, the big thing is there's going to be a gallery stroll, and that has nothing to do with the Historical Society. That's completely downtown. And I had hoped like stores would stay open late. The whole idea would be, you know, drive people downtown. So I can follow up with that tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that, and I have all the
Yeah.
memories next to me, so I'm in for a party.
I also think maybe we should just put all of our weight behind October for Design. Not to detour from Live New Canaan right now, but in combination with Live New Canaan. So we're going to have a lot of stories to tell with October for Design, and it's wonderful that ticket sales have done so well, but we also can we have what, three weeks that we could do a massive promotional, I don't know, leverage. I don't know if anybody has any ideas about how it seems like in advance of an event is when people are most excited about it, right on the cusp of the event and into the event. So I'm wondering if there are any other thoughts about how we can spread the word.
Why can't we do that with Live New Canaan? Because
I was just
in
gonna say,
addition to, yeah.
We can certainly amp up what we're doing for October for Design. We could do an exclusive email blast just on that, and that would go out to the 30,000 people. We can do additional social media posts.
Yeah, especially the individual large events that we're looking for people to come. You know, if we have to throw some money at it for Tim and Noble House to do that promotion, that would help support Live New Canaan as well as, right? So
sounds like a good idea.
Can we do any paid ads on Instagram? I know those are pretty inexpensive. Is that something that's part of the strategy?
And Google.
Yeah, and Google, yeah.
Tim, could we just, are you there, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if we said
Could we
$10,000,
just focus on that for a while and do some.
It just seems like such good timing right now. You know, October in Connecticut, October for Design, people coming back after the pandemic or in the midst of the pandemic, but just it seems like if we're going to spend the money, maybe targeting a short period of time makes some sense.
Well, we could get something. I mean, Gina Federico's been doing all of the graphic design work, partly funded by TDAC, but now funded by the Historical Society. We could get her to do like sort of a bookmark kind of thing with all the links and the events. I also think though that it's really interesting. Docomomo's picked up the stuff. October's picked up the stuff. I mean, we've submitted it, but they've taken it. So we're drawing on a much bigger audience than just New Canaan, and so there is the potential to bring in a lot of people. I mean, not including the Palm Springs modernism people, but you know, if you look at the zip code data that we've got from the people that have bought tickets for stuff, they're coming from all over the place.
BJ, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, I think that if there's a list of 10,000 New Canaanites, we only have 20,000 people who live in our town. So that's clearly the largest list available. I would do something and leverage that, you know. I mean, even the the other ones that we handle don't have a list of 10,000. So, you know, that is a huge list, and that, you know, that would be our core people. And that would be very fantastic for something like, you know, October for Design.
Tim, could we put together just a little mini program just for New Canaan, October for Design within the Live New Canaan program, and just spell out what it would be and maybe a little price tag for it? Can we do that?
Yeah.
And do the sponsors do email marketing for us? Do they all have as part of their deal where they'll go out to their databases?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, we've begged sponsors. So the idea is that we're trying to help them, not, you know,
Right.
not asking for more.
I know, but sometimes if they really feel strongly about something, they do it. So
I think that Rings End and some of the ones that are involved in design and architecture themselves are more willing to go out and help, but we have a lot of people that are really unrelated to art and architecture in New Canaan, and they're just willing to support the program.
Got it.
Karen, I see your hand. You're muted though.
Sorry, this is slightly, is it working now?
Yep.
Slightly tangential, but I have been talking to so many new families who have moved here, and people are sort of looking for this resource of like, all right, where's the thing? I see sometimes on Connecticut, the New England Advertiser, or I see sometimes on the Chamber that there are these events. Is there sort of one spot that I can find everything that's going on? And is there a way that, does that get pushed out at all? So I wonder if this might be an opportunity to harness all of these different places. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but now with the catalyst of more people being here and this list of 10,000.
That's always been the goal of the Chamber's calendar page. And that really started many, many years ago when there were so many different community calendars, and we wrangled them all into one, and have had to really train everybody to make sure that they post all of their events. And that's exactly where Laura goes when she's doing her e-blast. She goes and grabs all the different events that are coming up. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't do that here as well. I mean, again, they've got a great following.
And I think a way to make it less passive.
Live New Canaan uses the Chamber's feed, which is great.
Yeah, it's incorporated on the Live New Canaan website. Yes.
Yeah, I think there's also a way to make this a little, because I mean, people are just so busy, and I think there's a passive way of doing this, and there's a little bit more of a engaged, active way of doing it. So like people that are interested in certain things will get, text reminders. Hey, this is coming up. There's just, people are, running at the speed of light with all the stuff on their plate. You need to make it easier for them. And there are plenty of ways digitally we can do that. I mean, having something statically on a website isn't enough. And I'm happy to even with the October for Design, I'm happy to work with you, Amanda and Nancy, and kind of think about different things. But to your point, Karen, I think we could do a lot more of more active engagement through online.
Greg, how much traffic are you getting at the Glass House?
Well, we're open 4 days, Friday through Monday, and we're selling out.
Oh, you are selling out. Okay, so I was going to make the comment. I'm not sure we need worry about the Canaanites finding things to do. There's things on the calendar, and they get filled up. I'm thinking about trying to draw the people from Manhattan or surrounding areas, and Live New Canaan is a great platform to do it. We have the content with October for Design. Let's just push that for a month.
Well, we'll put together a program and
but you need some money.
Get back to you with the.
You need some money. I mean, I think TDAC ought to be in for $5,000, but to get to 10 grand, we need some other people to join.
Right.
But I think you got to do it quickly. It's upon us. October.
We can do a program quickly.
All right. So let's leave it like that. First of all, I think Rita and everybody else, I think there is obviously always more that can be done, so we can explore those. But I think in the short run here, we should really be looking at some of the opportunity with October for Design. It's going to be fabulous. Nancy, you and Laura and team have done such a great job in curating that whole month-long program.
Nancy, do you want to request some funds for tonight to get this off the ground, given that it is such a short-term project?
Well, I mean, Heather, if you think if I had something good in print that stores would hand it out and I could go around town and leave piles of brochures places, I would love the funding to do that. I mean, Gina's probably, I don't know what her design fee would be for that, but maybe $1,000. And the Historical Society is happy to cover the print costs.
Well, maybe we should make a motion to spend up to $5,000 on this initiative between some print or some other digital piece of it that Tim's going to help us with and others. And then we can work within that if people think that's right. Or just do you all feel that it should be a higher amount?
Are there flyers out that people have in their windows downtown for October?
No. I mean, we could do stickers, we could do magnets, we could do flyers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could do. We have modern New Canaan magnets that are really great that, we would love for people to have on their cars. We were handing those out for a while. I mean, I think the whole idea is that there's this brand now that's around the initiatives of celebrating mid-century modern architecture in New Canaan. And there's a lot of ways you could go at that. But I do I do think we could certainly work with, what kind of stuff we could use to promote it.
I think we want to do, as Kevin said, reach out to people beyond the borders of New Canaan.
Yeah.
Because people in New Canaan already know the restaurants.
And
the
that should be
stores.
that should be done electronically with Google, Instagram,
And that's what we've been doing. I mean, that's what we've been doing. We have an intern working on it. We've, Laura's been working on it. I've been working on it. And we have gotten nice, traction from some of these bigger sites. Like Arctober is Amanda, you probably know better than I do, but it's a kind of national movement to have October be about architecture. And Docomomo, obviously, you all know. And it was a big deal that Palm Springs Modernism last year took 3 of our submissions that we, the Historical Society produced a film and 2 PowerPoint presentations, one on Landis quarries and one on, it was called Evolution of Design, but it was why New Canaan was such an important hub for these architects to come in the 50s. And they took all those programs and they ran those programs. And, that's part of the reason we've got 25 of them coming here in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I do think that video is really compelling. It's one thing to see a picture of a house. It's one thing to get a sense. It's another thing to get a sense of moving around the inside of a house. So I think that there's a lot, if there is more money. I mean, we spent $10,000 to make a 10-minute film. So it's very, very expensive. And for the Historical Society, we have a pretty small budget. We can't afford to do it, but it is great publicity for the town. So
that's why I think that, the month coming up to document it in a way that can be used for further promotion will be really valuable to see the crowds of people going into Grace Farms,
I agree.
To capture the excitement of the event, not only real time that could be put on Live New Canaan, but for future promotion.
Yeah, and Friday's tour is the big 3 in New Canaan. It's the Glass House, it's Grace Farms, and it's Fred Noyes' house. That's what people are going to see on Friday. And then Saturday is private homes. But if we wanted to document that, if we wanted to have a live stream, I mean, that's a great idea, Amanda.
I wonder if any of the television networks would pick that up.
We lost Alan.
I also would consider influencers, local influencers. You'd mentioned that earlier. I think that's a really big.
Greg, can we get some help from Krista on this maybe?
I don't know. She's probably oversubscribed right about now.
I'm thinking of connecting us with some.
Yeah, maybe some names.
Right.
Yep.
It'd be neat to have an influencer actually live, like going to an event and talking about it or showing video. I mean, you could have a lot of fun with influencers or bloggers that are interested in architecture.
What was that influencer event, Greg, that you had a couple years ago? You called it.
We've had a number of them, but Krista's the right person to provide the name of the appropriate influencer for this kind of an event.
Right.
I'll follow up with her.
How best to proceed here, folks?
Well, Tucker, we can spend $5,000 right now.
I know.
So I'm in favor of that. I really think we ought to do it with Noble House to leverage the social media aspect.
So again, if we vote to approve $5,000 tonight, we can.
Tucker, you don't need a vote. I'm already.
I know you can sign.
I'm already writing the check.
I know.
Yeah, I wonder if the Historical Society, if it should be split among the Historical Society and Noble House, so that they can also do some of these physical promotions and also gear up to do some videography or live streaming during the month of the events.
I think to have some video footage would be really wise.
Sadly, we've really looked into this and it's much more expensive than that.
I know.
To do it well, and the last thing you want is bad video. You don't want bad video.
Right. So how much is it?
It's
The
probably
rates for photography can vary quite drastically, but typically for $5,000, that can sometimes be soaked up by a 3-minute production.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pardon me, too. Going back a little, the challenge with print is that as soon as you're sending those messages beyond the local geography, the costs for that become extraordinary. But with that same budget attributed to an Instagram ad, you'd be having a far broader reach with measurable click-through rates and conversions, so you can very quickly see the return on investment there.
Easier to update as well.
You have the platform with Live to Canaan to go out and do the social media.
Oh, Tim.
Well, here's the thing. Andrew Gillick, who's done our social media for free because he's a volunteer, has put together some incredible Instagram stories that October gave him their Instagram site, and he ran those. So those are already done. Like he could now give them to Live New Canaan. You know, that's one thought I had, the material's already produced.
Tim, have you ever done, I'm sorry, have you ever worked with any influencers for New Canaan? Have someone come up and maybe do some content shoots about At the Glass House and some of the other things in town that we could use to promote not only October for Design, but the town as a whole?
We've done influencer marketing previously and have a number of partners, but none for the Glass House in particular. So I think that could be.
Actually, we did, with our previous agency, we did an event with influencers at the Glass House. It's just, as I said, in this program, we don't have the.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying an event. I'm saying, you know, you get a few particular ones that you vet, you look at engagement, you look who their audience is, someone who's really into mid-century design or just interior design, and just have them come up to New Canaan for a day. And then you can actually own the content, which you could then use on our channels. So
you know who's coming to make a movie in a couple of weeks? It's Donald Sutherland.
Okay.
Let's
Give us some footage. That'd be great.
Wait, this is for Nancy Gary. Could you have some of your, what you said that you have your Instagram content already done? Is there a way that the guy who did it for you could forward it to maybe myself or other stores, and then we could put it on our Instagram stories starting like mid next week prior to October 1st, and then we can just shoot it out there. So our platform people who are interested in shopping and being in town and what's going on, and not all my followers are from New Canaan, would at least know what's going on in town.
Oh, sure. I'm sure he would do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I mean, is it okay if I use the email distribution list from TDAC? Because I don't have everyone's emails.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Any social tiles, any stories, those would be great. We could all push that out to people.
And Nancy, it would be great to have some influencers up during the actual event, posting live, and you could probably just barter a ticket to October for Design and just own the content that we could use for future things as well.
Yeah, we've done that in years past. It hasn't been so successful. They want a free ticket and then we don't get much back.
Well, it's all about
I'd like
negotiate.
My problem is I don't have a way to filter those influencers. If someone recommends somebody to me, I'm happy to reach out to them. But the people that approach me about, getting a free ticket and this is what they're going to do have been.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It would be somebody that Tim's team could maybe identify that he thinks could be good to have there. So
I think, in influencer marketing, you're talking about anywhere from $200 to $3,500, for an event.
How about the celebrities that have their kids at country school, Tucker, that live in Pound Ridge? Or
what about them in terms of you
kind of invite them to participate and use them as the live streaming of, we're in New Canaan at the October for Design. I mean, they're coming to New Canaan, dropping their kids off at school every day.
Right. All right. It sounds to me like we've got some work to do on this one, but there's a lot of good ideas. Nancy, why don't we? Would anybody like to be on this smaller team that will get on this in the next few days and work with Tim and the others to come up with come up with some ideas to move these things forward. And we can just all get on a separate Zoom meeting in the next day or two.
Sure, I'm happy to be part of that.
All right.
Rita?
I will. I'm actually working on the stuff for the rink, but you know what? I will make time because this is fun. I think this would be a lot of fun to work on.
All right.
And
Thank you,
possibly Krista Tucker.
Yeah, and I if we could have Krista just join us more for guidance. I know her time is really valuable, but she's been there, done that with all of this.
Yeah, she just got drafted for another project for our employer, but I sent her an email just now, and asking her if she can help identify some relevant influencers.
I bet Elizabeth Rapawano, our head of communications at Grace Farms, would be willing to help too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would just be a little think tank to help Tim and his team develop a program for October.
Right.
For design.
And if anybody can think of some matching funds for the $5,000, that'd be helpful to get to 10,000.
Right.
Okay, so who's going to?
Speaking of which, sorry, Nancy, you were going to ask a question.
So who's going to spearhead this? I mean,
well, I'm going to send out an email tomorrow and see if we can find a time. Just writing this all down so I don't forget. To get this group together, and then we'll put it all on paper and figure out where we're going.
Excellent.
Tim, thank you. You guys and Nancy and Lori and Board of Realtors, great idea. Perfect partnership with Noble House. It's fabulous. And you had us at hello.
Indeed. You're the best. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. This is what happens when
Are we
don't-
invited to stay?
Sorry?
Are we invited to stay or are we leaving?
Sure, absolutely, of course.
I'll mute myself.
This is what happens when we don't meet for 2 months. We have a lot to talk about. You probably have all been reading or well aware, we talked about it at our last meeting, but the town is, sorry, the town is receiving close to $6 million in relief funds. We, TDAC, as you know, sponsored a forum back in July with the chamber and with the community foundation to gather some input from the community and from the nonprofits. What's been done since is that we've been collecting different requests here and there. And so at the Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, a very initial draft work in progress list of projects that the Board of Selectmen felt were worthy of passing on to the town council, and the Board of Finance will have a subcommittee that will also meet on this. In fact, their meeting is Monday night at 7 o'clock. The town council will ultimately be the group that decides where the monies are spent. Just to bring you all up to speed on this list that I just referred to, we kind of broke it out as to governmental needs and community needs. And there's definitely some crossover on both of those. But as far as TDAC's purposes, and I've been speaking with Laura, and I'd love for you all to be thinking about this too. We have yet to really come up with a solution that we think would directly impact and help the businesses. I mean, the one major thing that's on this list is the support of getting the Playhouse refurbished, code compliant, reopened. We think that will do a lot for the downtown and for the community. So that's top of the list in terms of what we want to fund. We've got things like the rink and Channel 79 and one of the things that we all talked about early on when TDAC started was the lack of infant daycare. The Y has proposed possibly expanding their program, which would take some of the dollars. So I won't go through the whole list, but I do want us to be thinking about, Laura and I have talked about it quite a bit. And we've also talked to a lot of the other communities in terms of what they're doing to support their downtown. I mean, there's no one initiative that's going to help them all, but we feel, like I said, with the Playhouse, that rising tide floats all boats kind of theory. So just food for thought, keep following along, join in on the conversations. The other part of that I didn't mention was that we are also proposing that, and I say we collectively, but the town, $1 million to the community foundation to address a lot of the nonprofits that lost opportunities to have their galas and fundraisers and things like that. We figure that the Community Foundation is the best organization to make those decisions, that they have a very robust grant review process in place already. So we thought rather than start that, recreate the wheel, that we would let the Community Foundation run with that piece of it. So anybody have any thoughts? Just that's a quick overview on what's happened thus far, but there's a lot more to go. I just wanted to make sure you were all aware.
Right.
Good. Okay. The other thing that the Board of Selectmen approved, and this falls into TDAC to some extent when it comes to having people come to town from out of town, as well as New Canaanites, but we approved a contract with you all may know, called Case Study Brands, Sarah Allard and Ellen Reed, who run Case Study Brands out of Greenwich. They've really been the driving force behind the Greenwich Town Party, which you all are well aware of, which is a very successful program or event that happens down there. They are going to help us with a Waveney House utilization study. We are really trying to really take advantage of all that Waveney House could be as far as a destination, whether it be an event destination for weddings, for every time I walk over there, I see something new. Kevin and I were over there yesterday at the Powerhouse Theater, and I was just looking down the hill and seeing all the work that the Conservancy's done. Part and parcel of this work that we're going to do with Case Study, and they're going to help us with sort of brand identity and some strategic planning, but is Iona, the business school at Iona College, also is offering this as a course to their business students to help us with this. They approached us. And so we have 5 students that have selected the course. They will work with Case Study Brands and really do a lot of research as what the competitive landscape is like. And but again, we just think that Waveney is something that should be attracting people to town. And it's there, but we also have to justify some dollars to be spent to make some improvements in that building as well, to make sure that the second floor is accessible and things like that. So I'll keep you updated. We're going to be interviewing a lot of stakeholders. If any of you feel that you have something to add as part of this project and you would like to speak to them, let me know and we'll get you on the list of interview.
There's a piece you didn't mention.
Which is what?
The business plan.
Oh, this is the most important part. We are looking for somebody to help us. So we've got, a good portion of this study being done. But what we don't have is somebody who can help us run sort of the business plan of this, who can help us figure out what the model would look like. If all things being equal, we were able to get the building to where it was, this destination that we talk about. So we're looking for names. Anybody can think of anyone that might have some time who would want to help us with this project?
Specifically retired management consultants or, Lee Barnes just passed away. His obituary in today's paper. Yeah. The Harvard alumni group that is available. We need to approach them. And Lee was who I was thinking of approaching. He just passed away at age 85. But he had been a McKinsey consultant. And, so anybody who knows.
Kevin, I did finally hear back from the gentleman that I had reached out to who'd been away for 2 weeks, and he's very interested. So he might be able to help us in that front. So just wanted you all to know about that. All right, work stream updates. Who wants to start? I know you've all been working. I've been sitting in on a lot of your meetings. BJ, you sent me something earlier. Do you want to tell everyone how the business guide is going?
Yeah, we reached out and spoke with the town planner. And it was great. We got through a lot of the various things that she wanted to cover. Brock did a great job of kind of collecting a lot of things that we could put into the guide. And we've got a working document started, which is wonderful. The next step is working with Laura at the chamber to come up with all the things that they can do and have available to people coming in. And we have a couple extra areas in town that we need to make sure that we've expanded and described what they're doing. We're trying to get access to a couple of the maps, which will help them, zoning maps and different things like that. And I know there was mention about, I know it's very glorious, but garbage, parking, you know, those type of things. So we have to reach out to the smaller departments and get information to be able to provide that into the guide. So
you've covered everything from the permitting process. So this document would be something that would be available, especially to the real estate community. But you know, someone's thinking of opening up a business here. What do they have to do, A to Z, and all the steps they have to take, and who they have to call? Because we hear all too often that those questions are hard to get answered if you just don't know who to ask.
yeah, and I think the great part is it can be on newcanaan.info. All the you know, the border realtors can have it. The commercial realtors can you know, right away provide it. They're really excited about the customer service aspect of this over at Town Hall, which really gives us a lot of support. So I think.
Yeah, and I spoke with Lynn, our town planner, this afternoon.
Yeah.
And as I said, she's been helping with this, and she's very excited about it. And she wants to make sure that she mentions it at the upcoming planning and zoning meeting, so they're aware that this is a document that is, you know, going to be really very valuable to anybody in business here in town.
Do you know when that meeting is?
Well, they just had one last night, so I got to check for you.
Okay, so a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That'll be perfect, because then we'll have the component of the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
So
anybody on that team have anything to add?
Helped.
Anybody who's working on that? Brock, you've been helping. Dan, anything?
No, I think BJ did a good job of summarizing everybody's input.
Yeah, that worked out really good.
Great. Rita, you want to give us an update on market demand study?
Sure. So Jack and Susan and I had some conversations around the market demand study. I think the biggest takeaway was that it's the one that we currently have is just, it's outdated. And we either needed to redo it or augment it in some way, because there's just been so many changes. The whole retail landscape is completely changed. Our town profile, the people who've moved into the community, has really changed. And so I feel like we need to take that into account. We feel that we need to take that more into account. We also think, and it was great to see the presentation by the Noble House, we think there's an opportunity for you know, more online promotion and accessibility. So it's not just bringing the right businesses in, it's also providing that better accessibility for folks in town. I mean, I've been here for 2 years and I still don't really know where to park. So I think there's, you know, like just like we talked about having like a virtual mall map, like literally you could be in town and you could go on your, you know, have an app where you can see where you are and where to, you know, oh, I need a doctor, or I need a, you know, I want a certain retail outlet, you know. I think there's a lot of opportunity with regard to online and app usage. So what our next steps we thought we should be doing is, first off, we wanted to find out what recommendations were actually implemented from the last study, just to know what progress has occurred based on those initial results. And then we also thought it'd be interesting to do kind of, you know, what do we want to stand for? What do we want to be known for? So like kind of a SWOT analysis for New Canaan, and what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, you know, what sets us apart from other towns in the area, what makes us a differentiator. You know, I don't know if it's a historical presence or it's our walkable dance. I mean, there's so many different aspects, but like what really encapsulates New Canaan. And then that would better help us understand like what types of retailers and other businesses we want to attract and that would thrive in the town. So I think, you know, that would be part of it. Also just better understanding the demographics now, the changing demographics and what people need. I mean, one of the biggest services that was mentioned, I mean, there are a lot of new working moms, young working moms that don't have childcare. Like, so, you know, just understanding that and maybe incorporating that into the type of businesses we want to attract. And then, you know, I think that one of the big things is just exploring whether it's a consultant or marketing resources that could help us figure all this stuff out. And that's when we were reaching out to Lynn to, understand if there are any grants or if there are any funding that could kind of help us do this work.
Right, and you have a meeting set up with her?
So we've been going back and forth. So we're trying to connect. But that's one step. But I think we have a good plan of action of what we want to do, the things we want to do. But I think we have to first start with a little bit of learning. And
so that first market demand study that you're referring to was definitely all funded through a grant.
Okay.
I remember that.
And I don't know if we do the same exact thing. I mean, I think we want to do it a little differently.
Right.
And we need to figure out or source who would do that work for us.
Does that overlap what Tucker's doing with the group case study brands?
Well, no, case study brands is really just very specific on Waveney House. So,
got it. Okay.
Right. And I think you're right. The market demand study, was it 2010, 2011? I don't think, obviously it's outdated, right? I don't think we need, if we were to embark on doing this again, I don't think we need the full blown, I remember the gap analysis was a huge piece of that. What are people leaving town for? What products, what services? So you're right, there's portions of it that we could carve out that we might want to look at.
Yeah.
Okay. So the work continues there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody on the tourism visiting traffic opportunities group? Anybody got anything to report?
Yeah, I'll start, and I think Nancy will chime in. Much of what we talked about is are items that we've already discussed in this meeting or are on the agenda later on. But October for Design is a great starting point for us. But what we really need to do is expand the offerings to be year-round, or at least 9 months, let's say. Some things that might help us in that area, and it could tie in with the government money that is available, would be the role of the Playhouse in the town. I think that we think that culture is really what we have to offer. So we've got art and architecture and the musical offerings and other performance art that could drive tourism to the area, excuse me, beyond October. Some of the issues that we come up against are a lot of the visitation would come probably via Metro North, and there doesn't seem to be adequate infrastructure in terms of cabs, and so a shuttle might be an appropriate thing, and maybe that could be funded from the government money as well. Another issue is expansion of possibilities through partnerships with other towns and other venues in the immediately surrounding area. So there are a lot of art and architecture institutions fairly close by to New Canaan. Problem with that is we do not have the hotels to keep people in our town. They would probably go elsewhere, and that means that dinner might be taken up in another town rather than New Canaan. Another thing that we thought might enhance the experience, though, is if shopkeepers were willing to expand their hours to have people walk around downtown coming for some of these cultural events. It would be helpful if they had hours beyond 5 p.m. to capture that visitation. Let's see.
Yeah, that store hour one is something that we've struggled with throughout the years. I mean, everything from caffeine and carburetors, right? That we had 2 weeks ago where, we had so many people visiting town. Now that Sunday morning that's why it works actually in the downtown, because a lot of the stores are closed. So we're not worried so much about taking away parking and that kind of thing. But actually, for the first time, I did get some feedback. I know the bookstore was open for that. And they have one of those people counters. And she said, I had 260 people come into the store that Sunday morning. she said it was well worth her while to be open. So, that was a really nice thing to hear, because for years we've been hearing, oh, I can't staff it, it's not worth it. But there's a case in point. Now that's a perfect type of store to stay open for an event like that. I doubt somebody's going to go into Ann Taylor and start trying on dresses when they've looked at $1 million cars, but they certainly may stroll into the bookstore and get their appetite going there. BJ, you're raising your hand?
Yeah, they actually had 30% more traffic.
Wow.
From 2019. So phenomenal amount. And they had more destination cars coming from far away and being in it. And the October one is going to be just the same.
Yeah, that one's scheduled to be in Waveney Park. And Doug loves to have that in Waveney. It's such a great setting for it. We're just talking, we may have to move that one back into town. We're meeting on Tuesday on that one, just because there's some landscape work and things like that going on over at Waveney, and we're not sure we want to interfere with that. So we'll know more. But it certainly is a nice event, and we felt it was outside, it was safe given everything that's going on.
I mean, that's a daytime event, and it's thousands of people at one time, in a couple of hours, as
Well,
opposed
and talk
to
about the Instagram push from that, right? Everybody's taking pictures and immediately sending it out. I mean, that whole day, I wasn't even here that morning. My phone was blowing up. Everybody was showing pictures and videos of cars and the people and all of that. So
they had posts that were getting 500, 600, 900 likes and comments and comments and comments.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It's not something we want to, take lightly. It's a huge event.
But I think it speaks to, Heather's question to me a while back, is that there needs to be better coordination between the events and the downtown, it seems to me, so that then the downtown can figure out, well, it actually is worth it to me to stay open for these few hours because it's going to be a big enough event. Or it's going to, attract the kind of people that I want to sell my stuff to. And I think that's,
well, there's coordination and communication, because, Laura.
Yeah, but also, I mean, even Greg and I with our group, the other people on the group, I mean, Greg and I talk all the time, but the other people in the group didn't know even what the Glass House and the museum were doing. So I do think that there is a breakdown in communication and how we can fix that, just of the people even on this committee, or even, between the retailers and the cultural institutions or something. I think that would be a huge step forward.
Yeah, you're right.
I think so too. Well, one thing I noticed, and I thought it was a great event. It was amazing. There's so many people, but there was a bottleneck for people. If you wanted to get a cup of coffee or get something to eat, I mean, there was such a bottleneck, and it was kind of like, ugh, I don't even want to bother, right? And I wonder if those places had a heads up, maybe they would have done something a little differently that would make it a little easier for folks to get.
You mean food places?
Yeah.
Oh, they all knew that. Trust me. I mean,
they were contacted probably 10 times.
Yeah.
Asked for hours. We would self-promote them for free.
And then we had one who opened up at 10:30, and he was complaining that he didn't do well, but the event was basically over.
It was over by then. Yeah. So that's interesting. So you have to have their participation, because I think there's a big opportunity there if they.
I have to say, I was at my store, but I had to keep my door locked because I literally could not find anyone to work with me.
And
I was too nervous to open up being alone with all of our jewelry. So I was hiding behind our computer doing computer work. But I felt horrible, and I kept saying, if this would have been an amazing day, but I had 0 people to work with me that day.
Right.
So, and I tried, but hopefully like October, if it does move to town, we'll definitely be open.
Oh, and Rita, that's the other one, the Adirondacks Tour. He said his coffee bar was jammed, and he was thrilled because, he's always trying to get new people in the store, being a relatively new destination. And he said the coffee, he couldn't believe it. And again, we had told, especially.
If I knew it, I would have gone there.
That they definitely are told this is happening, gear up, get ready. So
White Buffalo did bacon, egg, and cheeses, which is not a normal thing for them.
yeah,
And they sold out 250 of them in like just in seconds.
she sold like 480 waffles down at the waffle cabin.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of irony if you can't find a cup of coffee on for
Right,
caffeine and
I know.
carburetors.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
Tucker, maybe we have to bring in food trucks.
I think that would be awesome.
Well, here's the thing with food trucks. With some of the chamber events in the past, we do bring in food trucks. We've brought them in for sidewalk sale and other events only after we have asked every other New Canaan based food business if they want to participate. So if we, like with sidewalk sale, I mean, we go and we ask everybody, we need grab and go food. We set up a little food court. We want little lobster rolls or salads or whatever. They don't want to sit there and wait while someone's cooking, hashi sushi over a barbecue grill. And we end up getting food trucks because we can't get the businesses to sign up, and it's a lot of work for them, right? They have to lug it and bring it up. But so we've always gone, we have a whole list of food trucks that are already approved through the town that are used with other town events. So we can do that. I know in Pound Ridge, they have that very successful Food Truck Friday, and it brings in a lot of people. I just hate to bring in anything that competes with what we've got already.
Yeah.
It's like to
Yeah. Food trucks, I mean, you gotta make sure the tenants that are paying property taxes
Right.
are checked with first. You can't bring in competing uses when there's enough challenges, but I hear you that food
So
trucks
I
work for sure.
agree, but when you have too many people, actually ends up worse for everybody.
Yeah, okay, fair
'cause
enough.
the lines are so long, and then people just stop and they decide they're going to go somewhere else.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Want
that's
that.
exactly why, like I say, with sidewalk sale, we do bring them in. We've got the melt mobile, we've got a pizza thing. I mean, we do but we ask everybody else first.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. So I cut you off, Greg. We digress.
No, I mean, so much of it is intertwined in the normal business of TDAC. So
Right.
I think that was pretty much what I wanted to convey.
Can I just add one thing? Because after our meeting, Tucker, I shared this with you and Greg, but I had
Right.
talked to Bob Gregson, who is the former creative director for the Connecticut Department of Culture and Tourism. He is very happy to come on and meet with TDAC people, give his advice. He was saying that still the kind of bread and butter, like if you're coming to town, where do you stay? Where do you get a cup of coffee? Where do you park? Sort of. He just in like 5 minutes sent me this flyer that he had designed with little write-ups on all of the major cultural institutions and sort of things to do and sites to see. And he was saying, just even something this basic can really help people that come from out of town. And if you've had all these people from caffeine and carburetors and there was something for them to take away, it might mean they would come back even if there were no cars.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an excellent point, Nancy.
Yeah.
I went to breakfast at the diner on Forest Street. There might have been three couples there, and there were thousands of people over on Elm Street and Pine Street. They just didn't know where to go.
Right.
Well, he and Bob and his partner travel all over the place, and he said he was recently up in Hudson, and then they went to someplace else, and every time they were looking for this sort of basic information. And he really thinks that New Canaan could benefit by that. And he's happy to help this group if we want it.
Well, that could be that app, like that app. where you
Absolutely.
go on and you find out, I want a coffee. Where is that? I want breakfast. Like, oh, here it is. I just have to go down the street. I'm right near it. Like that's that whole virtual mall kind of app that you can do where anyone could access.
I think a great base for that is the Explore New Canaan website, which has all the different businesses on there, food, retail, all
Right.
that.
You search, I want pizza. You search pizza, and it just.
But that's
Right.
information that could be used in an app, which would be
Yeah,
great,
exactly.
right?
It has to be appicized, right? It's got to
Yes.
be an app, right? You can't be like, oh, I'm going to go on this website and search for it. It might be over there. Like there's an app, but it can be done. It's not that hard.
Would we ever want something even a little more old school, like an actual map in town that people can go look at, that becomes kind of an Instagrammable place. People want to get photographed in front of, make it a really kind of cool visual that people, oh, did you get photographed for that New Canaan map or something? I don't know. We could do kind of a mid-century theme.
But it
Like
would
in
have to
Scottsdale,
change.
Arizona,
They would have to- it would have
Maybe
to
that could
change.
happen in one of the storefronts. The empty storefronts, a really great visual of destinations, kind of a cartoony, go here to get your coffee. Although I'm
It
sure
would have to be dynamic though. That's the thing, because you're going to have businesses that change. But again, that's possible.
You do it electric or something. I don't know, something that it becomes a destination in town that people want to be photographed. I mean, everybody lives their lives on social now. So how can we get them there to promote, and they can help promote New Canaan. So
years ago, when long time ago, the window that's underneath in front of the Playhouse, the window that's to the left that we now use, that the nonprofits all advertise in. The whole plan there was initially to have a monitor in there. We had some issues with the heat and it kept pixelating and that kind of thing. But and that's what it was really kind of intended to do, was to be a little bit of a business directory, if you will, but it could have just rolling content of what was happening. So
a touch screen.
Yeah. I mean,
search for things. Just like they have at a mall. I mean, that would be kind
of
all
cool. The real estate offices now have that, where you can touch it and see and go into a house. So
what about a monitor at each of the parking lots when people arrive to get out of their car, and then from there they figure out what they wanted to go to?
But we also got to get them parked. I've heard that a number of times, that they still don't know where to park. All right, I've written a lot of notes. We've got a lot of work to do going forward. These are all good ideas.
Jack has an idea.
Jack.
Yeah, just getting back, to the food truck question. I think that probably there's enough stores to meet that demand. And I just don't know if there's a better, I know you've contacted them 10 times before an event, but if there's that much money to be collected, I just don't know if we can somehow get our merchants and food people to better respond, because it would probably be lucrative for them. So I don't know how to do that, except maybe to make sure they know and build that pattern that they can get extra people on those days, and it'll probably be worth their while.
I mean, it raises the question as to why we're doing anything in the first place. It was to raise, tourism and economic development for the merchants and restaurants downtown.
Right. So, I mean, if Dolce or whatever could double their business on that day, but I think they just have to kind of get in that groove. We would do that for sidewalk sale, or Christmas. We would, grow our staff by a third, to collect that business, not to leave anything on the table. So I don't know why they're not connecting, but this is all kind of new, bringing these new larger events in. It's, maybe I have this idea of retail boot camp, where you just have to physically go in and talk to merchants about some very basic things that will easily help them. And sometimes there is a big disconnect.
I'm not saying that any of that isn't the case, but I can tell you, in my 12 years, at the chamber, that's exactly what I would do. I mean, I would go into each and every business.
No, I know you do that
all the time and make sure they know. And there's just so much you can do. I mean, it was very frustrating when you have these events, when you know that you're going to have thousands of people in town, and they just don't take you up on it. And I don't.
And Tucker, sorry, but I commend you on the sensitivity you have not to upset the business community by bringing in food trucks or whatever. But somehow we should, I wish they would respond. I get the frustration, but a well-functioning business town should respond. And I don't know why they're not.
Oftentimes it's the independently owned businesses are much more responsive, obviously. Many times the chains, and I use the word chains loosely because a chain is really anything that's got more than 3 stores by definition, but
Mhm.
You know, they're, oh, I can't get staff, you know, so I'm not opening that day, or that's just an extra ask. Although, you know, someone like Kinsey at Vineyard Vines, who always goes the extra mile, who always opens up. I mean, she doesn't have to, but she
Mhm.
does and participates in
Right.
everything, and it pays off for her. So what we do frequently is we ask some of those merchants to talk to their other merchants and say, look, this makes sense, and if it worked for
Right.
me, it can work for you. And
Mhm.
if it works for me, it's going to even work better. And the more of us that do it, like I've always said, the rising tide floats all boats, right? If we all do it,
Right. Right.
it's
Right.
going to be better for all of us. So
But, you know, Tucker, if we're gonna move October back downtown, and part of the problem, you know, when you go to Waveney, you lose everything downtown, mostly.
right.
But, you know, you really have Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and the bakery and LPQ, and you got 6 or 7 different food vendors. So you ought to just get them together and say, hey, you know, we're gonna have this event, and if you guys don't show up, you know, but Dunkin' Donuts is a gangbuster business that day, because you know, they always do. I'm curious as to how the bakery did, or what LPQ is doing. But and tell them, if you don't show up, we're gonna get food trucks.
Mhm.
You can't invite hundreds and hundreds of people to New Canaan and not plan on servicing them.
Well, I mean, for Caffeine and Carvers, they show up. I mean, like Dolce, I mean, he definitely did a great business that day. But what he needs to do is change his business. And every cup of coffee can't be made to order, right? He's got to just have huge push
Right.
plots of just, here's the coffee. You know, we're
Right,
not
right,
doing with a,
right.
with a little bit of
Right.
cinnamon and a little bit of almond milk and a little bit of this. It's not how it works.
I
I've
agree.
always said
As
that. It's
Rita
got to
said,
be grab and go.
exactly. But as Rita said, if you have to stand in line, people say, you know, forget it.
Right. Right.
But that what BJ said about White Buffalo was fascinating. I mean, the guy pivoted. He
Yeah.
offered, you know, egg sandwiches, and he offered something that the market wanted. And I don't know if he felt at the end of the day that was a big win for him, or he was just servicing the people of New Canaan. But I do think there's
No, he thought
money to be
he
made.
thought it was definitely a big win.
Mhm.
Kicked himself for not having more. And
There you go.
yeah,
You
and
know.
you know, Doug Zumbach made well over 500 cups of coffee.
Mhm.
Gone.
Okay.
You know, Waffles did amazing. So there's still
Mhm.
capacity. There's still capacity to do even more.
Well, and the
But you know, I
after-
think we have to listen to Heather, because she's right. You know, our retail people are really struggling with getting
Mhm.
people to work. It's a
Right. That is
huge
an
issue
issue.
right now.
Yeah.
I want to say the direct trains have been great. That makes such a difference in our town. I don't know if anybody else is feeling the impact of people being able to leave right from the city and arrive in New Canaan, but
that's
my
only
business, it's
only
been
weekdays.
wonderful.
That's only weekdays, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The other thing about sort of a Caffeine and Carvers type of event is the lingering effect. In other words, after the car show of it is kind of over and the road opens up, the restaurants were jammed. So they told me he had a full lunch crowd, right? Because everybody just stayed in town, mingled, or even went out. And actually, a couple of years ago, the real estate folks did an interesting thing where you went to some open houses that were themed with some of the cars. So they made it into more of like a little scavenger hunt tour kind of thing. So we'll know more if Caffeine and Carpenters is going to move the Wednesday, the October show. I'm going to meet with them all on Tuesday. And I hear you that if they do, and I mean, October is such a beautiful time of year to be out and about in downtown. So we would really, and we have this last show to prove that there's lots of opportunity there for these businesses to do well.
Does Doug do any mail out, or, you know?
He's got a huge Instagram and social media following too. But
Yeah,
he reaches out to specific car dealers and brings in theme shows.
Hey,
But
Doug, Greg, were you here? I mean, you had to be
He
here.
has a huge list. His list is huge.
yeah,
The problem is not getting people here.
that one's
That's not a problem.
No, I was thinking of making them aware of what else there is besides the car.
Yeah, how do we drive them, if it is at Waveney, how do we drive them into town?
So we've done that in the past. First of all, we've set up a tent there next to Doug's where Laura and I always had a table and we were answering questions and, you know, we were handing out maps. We've also done that at some of the big athletic events, you know, where you have like the lacrosse tournaments that are 5-6 games for a weekend. And we've gone over there and we've had CERT hand out maps showing like you're 1 mile. I mean, people are coming from Massachusetts, they're coming from New Jersey, they're coming from all over for their kids to play in these games, showing them that you are 1 mile straight down South Avenue into downtown. So when you've got a break between games and you're looking for pizza or someone needs new shoes or what have you, that's available.
You know what's interesting with that? When people, because you know, I'm doing that in other towns as well. Everyone gets emails from your, you know, the coach or whatever, the mom that tells you about it. Sometimes they'll say, oh, there's a coffee place, whatever, right? Like it'd be interesting to get up the funnel a little bit and get them before they show up and let them know what might be around.
That's a very good idea.
Right?
Yeah,
like
and
you just give them something that's like, I don't know.
Or to see and do when you're here, because oftentimes you have 3-4 hours in between games.
Exactly. And people would appreciate that. And you would send them something that they could be emailed, like something easy to be emailed out when they're emailing their teams.
Yeah.
To let them know what's around.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
kind of what I was thinking
what's
about with,
exciting is they do put places you can go and eat. But I love Greg's idea.
Do you think
shouldn't be just
Doug
food.
Zumbach would put that on his Instagram?
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
I know
what?
the person who does that.
I think BJ handles that part.
I
for
think
him.
I do find it. But I love Greg's idea. Why not talk about some of our, especially October?
Right.
Right. Would he leverage his list for October for design and other things, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk to him.
I'm glad you
Tucker?
bring that up.
Jack.
Oh, wait, I lost you. Hold on. I don't know why.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Just one, I can't hear you very well, but hopefully you can hear me. Just one other idea about, you know, getting more service to people when we have these big events. One thing that I remember doing myself was during sidewalk sale, you know, I really had nothing to sell from the video store. So I actually put a lemonade stand, a fresh squeezed lemonade stand outside my video store, and it was incredibly successful. So one thing you could do with some of the empty storefronts during a day like that, you may offer that space to food vendors to put a coffee station there, so they could expand their location throughout town and not really bother anybody else. And that would be, if they're willing to do it, that would lessen the issue of people looking for that service. Just an idea.
Right.
Jack's gonna have pumpkin coffees stand.
Pumpkin coffees. Did also want to just bring you up to date. A couple of you have asked me what the status is with the Playhouse. I mentioned with the ARPA funds. That's really where we're at with this point in time. We have ongoing discussions with potential operators. And so we're getting close. And we think that we're going in the right direction, but really the priority right now is just to get the building to the point where we can open it and where it will really attract people for it's coming up on its 100th year, I think. So I've been having conversations with Nancy and Amanda. Amanda actually walked through the building with me today, the Playhouse with us today, to look at it from an architectural point of view, and she had some recommendations. So more to come on that one. And then the last item, we covered October for design fairly well, but just on the barriers, the Police Commission did authorize the barriers for the outdoor dining to be in place through October 31st. The feeling was, and I'm not going to name names, but there was a couple of merchants who joined that meeting who I rarely hear anything good from, who actually came and said, gosh, the outdoor dining is fabulous. It's so nice to see the town so alive, and you know, how can I help? And her only desire would be if they looked a little bit better. But there are some merchants that say that it's really causing them some problems. It's taking away parking places, and they would like to see the outdoor dining, be put to bed. So we will revisit it really right now on a month-to-month basis. As you know, we've got some plans to do some bump outs on the north side of Elm Street, which will enhance that sort of in a permanent fashion. So stay tuned. I just wanted to bring you all up to date though on the where the barriers stand for right now. that we will have outdoor dining for the next month or so. And it is interesting. Last year, obviously it was COVID times, but people were out there January, February, and especially that north side of Elm Street. It gets a lot of sun, and it can really be quite nice out there, even on a cold, but if it's a cold sunny day. So more to come. I love seeing all the people outside eating downtown.
Tucker, I just have a question about the bump outs.
Mhm.
So those are happening. Who designed those, or how were those created? Because I do think what kind of interests me, it's going to be a very important design element in the town. So just wondering.
It's going to be, it's basically started and been designed through the Public Works Department, but with
I think what Jack's getting at, though, is with something that Tiger hadn't anticipated, is whether we actually have some greenery or things built into it. Yeah, because they were designed to maximize the parking, given the fact that we now have, we need to be compliant with the requirements to not be too close to. We're solving some of the problem of parking by redesigning in where the crosswalks are in relationship to the.
Yeah, so I know there's a real structural benefit to this, and I just hope that it just design-wise is appealing and it sings,
like having benches.
When somebody walks down.
Yeah, having seen the design, I think that there's room for some landscape elements and some benches to really beautify it.
That's what we hadn't thought about.
Yeah,
that really has to be done yet.
Right.
Yeah, one town that I think I've mentioned at some of these meetings is the sidewalks in Southampton. They're just beautiful, the way they have all the benches and the thickness of the sidewalks. And I mean, hopefully it will be a great addition at the end of the day, design wise.
Yeah, we have those big pots and stuff from the pop-up parks and stuff that, I mean, we can figure out how to temporarily.
Those are so high that, again, it would create the sight lines, I think, would be hard if somebody were crossing there and those were on either side. They'd have to go out into the road to see, but something smaller definitely work there. Lower. Those are 4 feet high.
Those had not been planned yet.
Right. So that's it on my list. Does anybody have anything that we didn't cover? Obviously, like we talked about, there'll be more to come on all the work that's being done, and we've created some new work to be done as well. But any of you have anything to add as part of your day-to-day?
I just saw in the news about the valet parking prospect. What's your thinking on them?
So he came and presented to myself, Laura, Stacy from the parking department. I think it's very interesting idea to have it. I'm not sure if we're quite there yet. I mean, there's still some questions to be answered from on his side, as well as the parking commission the police commission didn't seem to be overly encouraging, I would say, going forward. So I think we'll have to see. I think where he did call me today, and I think he'd like to start with Forest Street to see how that would work. What it's requiring is that we give him a couple of dedicated spaces, and that's where it gets a little tricky. I'm not sure I'm not sure if we're really ready to do that yet.
Right.
So he's going to be coming back to the next police commission meeting in October. You have any thoughts on it?
Well,
Go ahead, Jack.
No, just that I've seen valet parking in other towns, and I've actually, I think, mentioned it in these meetings. I think it should be experimented with. I think it could really be a benefit.
Yeah, I was showing a prospect space on Main Street where Elm Street meets Main. And he said, if we had valet parking there, I would consider that location because he had a higher end clientele.
Well, the valet that's being proposed is just on Friday and Saturday evenings, not during the day.
Yeah, I understand, but you could experiment
Mm-hmm.
with the evenings to start.
Right. Okay.
And just one last point for me is that I know a lot of work has been done to try to get people to put the window treatments in, and I just wish that we could do something more with that. Maybe
help
through
is appreciated. If you've got any connections to any of these folks, because we've asked them all.
Yeah. So I realize the first step would be to ask politely, which we've done, and try to reach these people. But we're talking about a benefit to the town and to make the town look better. So, again, I just don't know if we should be exploring other ways. One way would be ordinance, but
Well, one of the things that we are hearing is that many of the stores are actually being rented. We've heard that a couple of times over now, stores that we were interested in getting these up, and they've said, not so fast. I think we've got something going.
Where do we stand with the biggest offender at 112 Main Street? I'm happy to reach out to him and wrangle him.
Well, I was hoping you could get his, whoever that nice guy that came to the realtor meeting who works with him.
I'll go right to the owner, but what was his last pushback? Because that's the
first he was gung-ho, he was all ready to go with us, and then decided that he wasn't sure it was right for him. So
of course. Okay, well, now he's been vacant for another X number of months, so.
and every other week I have to email his property manager to say, go tape the paper up. I've got pictures all over my phone of.
So I'll call him in the next week, and if we could beautify his windows like New Balance has done with theirs, we're getting.
And Brock, the thing that would be so key about that is that would be such a perfect space to really get this going.
Yeah. Okay, I will try him again.
Artwork. We're ready to go. We just need the approval from him.
If anyone has the pitch or a sample that if you could
Can you get him everything he needs?
Sure.
I'll call David.
And I think that's great, but I mean, we have South Avenue. We've been trying to really do this for almost a year, and I think it's an ongoing problem. So anyways, I hope we're successful, but I don't know if we're really going down the right track. I think we may have to or think about other ways.
What are your prospects for the new development on Forest and Locust? Those retail storefronts.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
I think there's only one commercial space there, and at one point they had a lease out to a wine or liquor vendor, and I'll bet that's since gone away since one has popped up in Morse Court, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
That's what I heard too. So
Tucker, are you still looking for ideas for pop-ups or for how to utilize empty space, or is that?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of people that would love to get into these stores. What I don't, it's back to the problem with the wallpaper. I don't get a lot of cooperation from the empties. It's not as easy as just unlocking the door and having someone move in. Oftentimes, whoever's left has left, fixtures hanging, and there's rubble even in some places, or the paint's off the walls, and you've got to get insurance. You've got it. So it's not as easy as just, as I said, unlocking the door, turning on the lights, and letting someone have the space. And there's some that just philosophically don't think that a pop-up kind of a scenario is one that they want to, endorse. So, there's lots of ideas for different types of pop-ups. It's just a matter of getting the space. That's even to the coffee shop, giving someone an empty space for a coffee shop. I mean, it's just, like I said, they need to be cleaned oftentimes. Sometimes the electricity isn't even on necessarily.
Well,
and there's some insurance issues.
You need a lot
stuff.
with I think a coffee shop. I was thinking more along the lines of Jack. You gave me this idea actually, because Jack was talking about how art could be something that sets New Canaan apart, right? Like bringing more art and especially with like the Silver Mine or Silver Mine connection. And I was thinking it'd be interesting to offer up these spaces to either like an artist consortium or galleries that just would love like a satellite space here and there to show different artists. I think that would just be fun. And
So-
also would set us apart.
Arnold has done that for years. Every December, he does that over in the space on Main Street.
Right.
He puts a group in there. And again, you know, that is a terrific idea. What we've done with the art in the windows is oftentimes the landlords will allow you to display something in a window. They don't want to necessarily give you full access to the building, but they'll let you come in and use the window space because they recognize that that's a benefit. So we've had some luck there, but again, I mean, if someone's going to bring in beautiful art, they're going to want the right lighting in there.
Yeah.
You know, a light bulb hanging down from the ceiling isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But each landlord is different. I mean, so I was able to put a pop-up where the old wave space was. So that landlord was amenable to that. So that happened. So I do think it depends on each landlord, and it depends on the person that's asking. But I think pop-ups are possible.
Are you talking about the group that was in there in the wave space, the nonprofit?
The nonprofit, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Before.
and I know you were involved in that, but he also told me he plays baseball with the guy. So, you know, they were baseball buddies. So there's some of that too.
Well, there was a social connection, but
Right.
but he was willing to put a nonprofit in until he found someone who wanted the space.
And you're right.
So
Some definitely are open to it. And others aren't. And the ones, like I said, Arnold's got it going on several, a lot of his places. So it does happen here. And we've had stores, See Design, you know, has gone into a number of empty stores every year for sidewalk sale to use it for a pop-up space. So it definitely.
Ski and sport is somebody that looks for space as a pop-up.
Yep.
Yeah, but getting back to that art idea, what I was thinking is, you know, an art collective, and they're in other towns. Nantucket has one where local artists band together and do an art collective, and that would be a great way to fill a space in town, and develop good traffic for experiential retail. So that's something that we can all talk about.
That space on South Avenue, the old Mackenzie space. It's a nice, big, deep space. Would be a good spot for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's done other places successfully. I think that's what we look for, is
Right.
what has been successful in other places. Can we bring it here?
Right. All right, folks. Our next meeting, as I said, is October 21st. You all good with having it in person? Or at least hybrid if anybody's traveling? I'm seeing some thumbs up. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, so we'll go for an in-person. Anybody that can't physically be here, we'll provide a link, and we've got the setup at Town Hall to be able to do that.
And everybody needs to go to the gallery stroll before the meeting,
Right. Give us the date of that, please.
the 21st.
Okay. On the same night. So let's go to the gallery stroll, and then we'll go right over to Town Hall.
What time does that start, Nancy?
5. I think it's 5 to 7. It might be 5 to
Perfect.
8.
All right, I'll make sure everyone's aware of that too, and we can all
Perfect.
see each other downtown. Nancy, thank you. October for Design is going to be fabulous. I mean, I know last year you had your sort of mini version, but this is going to be great. A lot of work.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it should be good. Come on the 1st to hear about the Landiscories and his family. It's a really touching story. So I hope everyone will show up.
Okay. Greg will put our notes together of our meeting here. We'll get them out. We will be in touch in the meantime. This smaller group will get together and talk about how we can take advantage of October for Design and the Live New Canaan campaign. Nancy, I see you're still on from Live New Canaan. Thank you very much. And we'll be in touch.
Motions?
Motion to adjourn. I'll make the motion. My
Okay.
third night this week. All right. Thanks,
I'll second
everyone.
it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye now.